Good afternoon. I'm your host, Steve Basnett, and I would like to welcome everybody on behalf of CANASA and Security Canada to today's session. I would also like to say a special thank you to Proactive Data Storage and Monitoring and to Hall Telecommunications for their support and for sponsoring today's session. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Tom Maggio, CEO. In 2012, recognizing the competition was getting fierce, Tom figured out how to offer cloud storage and offsite extended storage affordably to his clients as a differentiator. From there, he partnered with Michael Biordi, a software engineer, and started Proactive Data Storage and Monitoring, PDSM. PDSM has won several storage awards for their out-of-the-box thinking and understanding of video storage. With Tom's vast experience in the security industry dealing directly with end users, he excels at understanding the client's needs of storage, from local to cloud, simple redundancies to extending the storage. Feel free to type any questions you may have during the session into the Q&A window at the bottom of your screen, and Tom will respond during the Q&A portion, roughly 20 minutes from now. I'll now turn the session over to Tom. Welcome, Tom, and thanks for being here.
Well, thank you, Steve, and thank you everybody for joining up. Let me just share my screen here, and we'll jump right in. Just first, a brief introduction, as Steve mentioned. My name's Tom Maggio, CEO of Proactive Data Storage and Monitoring. We started the company back in 2016, and really it was. The purpose of starting this company was as an integrator myself. I've been in this industry now, March will be 30 years. The hair was reversed. I actually had hair up here and none over here. But when I started my own company in 2006, my own security company, and I grew that organization, what I started to recognize was there was a tremendous amount of issues with surveillance. And at the end of the day, what really means the most to people, anybody here, whether you're an end user or a security company, if you're an end user, I'll ask you a question. Why do you buy cameras? If you're a security company, why does your client buy cameras? The reality that we've come to find, and it's so simple yet so underestimated, is you buy the cameras for the very simple reason to have the recordings. Right? We're not sitting there buying cameras to sit there and watch on our cell phones, although it might be cool and it might be fun. Even if you do get a brand new system and you do wind up using it again, if you're an end user yourself, if you're like anybody else I've met, you'll use the system from your phone pretty regularly for about the first 2 weeks. And then you remember, oh, I still have my business to run. And that kind of becomes now an afterthought. And it's really relied upon when you need it. And it becomes security, surveillance becomes a reactive industry by its very nature. It's there for the recordings. So what we wanted to do at Proactive is, as I was an integrator, I recognized this. However, at Proactive, our main mission is to create technology that actually lowers the cost to the end user to be able to store and protect their video. And how we do that and things that we do, I'll go over that. Now, I know I only have 20 minutes here, so I'm going to tend to talk pretty quickly. I'm going to go through some of these slides fairly quickly. I've sent this full slideshow to Steve, so I'm sure if you need it, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. So let's jump right in. First, as a bit of proof of concept here. IPVM, for those of you who don't know, it's a media resource here that really focuses on the security industry. And they did a massive study in regards to why do people call their security companies? What could potentially be some of the issues? And out of all of what they've looked at, as you can see, 36% of the cameras being out. Now, here's the craziest part. Again, I mentioned it's reactive. So surveillance systems by its very nature is, typically speaking, and I could speak from experience, a client will call us for support, my security company firm, when they go back to find video and they realize that a camera is out. It's not that they know the camera's out ahead of schedule. It's that they actually needed video from that particular camera, and then they went to go find it. Some of the other reasons for service, as you can see here, 12% lost remote access. This has to do with internet or bandwidth or people changing settings and it not being communicated. Exporting video, 11%. User training, of course, motion detection failure. Again, of course, you're going to see some of this on my next slide here. So what does this actually mean to the actual nature of the surveillance? And when it comes to finding things out, going to those recordings, what does that actually mean? What does the data show? So there was a study done a couple years back of over 251,000 crimes. Out of that 251,000 crimes, this is why this gets to be important, how much data was actually available. So here's the scary figures. Again, now keep in mind, I pulled this report when I was actually a security company myself. And I look at this and I go, oh boy. So out of 251,000 crimes, 55% of that video was not available due to these reasons right here: camera signal loss, hard drive failure, the VMS went down, the NVR went down, whatever the case might be. 16% was due to poor settings, bad motion settings. The camera's, back here in this corner right here, and it's meant to only record my desk. However, I've another door on that side of my office, and it doesn't see that. The sensitivity is not there enough. So what does that actually do when it comes to going back and finding the video? So what proactive data storage and monitoring is really all about is taking this reactive industry and making it proactive, and to do that with software and technologies. So what are the benefits that we really want to show? What were the ingredients for us to start proactive data storage and monitoring? And again, I'm going to kind of go quick here. No need to replace your existing system. We had to be hardware agnostic. We had to massively reduce the cost of ownership rather than do the opposite. As a security company, I use that as my experience. But if for those end users on this call, imagine I come to you and I say, hey, I got this really, really great technology. By the way, it costs $1 million, right? Nothing happens. It's just the reality. Nothing happens. So for us, we understood, and through my experience, I understood that the technology has to be able to have a value, a cost-effective value that can help benefit your business and to protect your business, right? So that was one of the major pieces of ingredients. The other piece that we've also understood is that I can't come to you with a technology and a solution that's going to raise your costs on the back end. So I wanted to make sure that I could actually lower your costs. That being said, for those clients that are looking for cloud storage, we have the lowest bandwidth requirements. In fact, 95% of our clients don't have to upgrade their bandwidth at all in order to achieve cloud storage, which there's not another company on the planet that could say that. And the reason being is because of our technology. Now, one of the other keys is, again, I mentioned it, I kind of mentioned it very quickly when it came to this, is we understood that any backup solution, right, any archiving for video surveillance, any of that solution, if it's reliant on your NVR, your DVR, or your VMS, it has a point of failure right there. So one of the things that we had to do is record separately and independently. So even if your NVR or VMS goes down, we're still recording. So we're in addition to. Now, I want to be clear. We are not a replacement of your existing system. We like to look at ourselves as an archiving solution, meaning we are an add-on to your solution, okay? So whether or not you're getting a new system, you have a system, we are 100% applicable and easily implemented in order to achieve whatever it is you're looking to achieve. The other thing is we're talking about the system and cameras being out was a full-blown health monitoring system. So if a camera goes out, you as a security company and your client, or you as an end user, you and your security company will both know about it in real time. Therefore, virtually eliminating the idea of, hey, I need to go find video and it's not there. That doesn't exist anymore because we're quite literally sending you an email in real time. God forbid there is something wrong with your system. And by the way, that includes anything with an IP address. We could go and expand upon that. And that comes with every single one of our solutions or different formats of our solution to make sure that you have that. Okay. And then the other key was, if for those of you who can't tell by now, I'm a New Yorker through and through. So my attention span and my patience is, about that. So I need everything. I need all of my data quickly and efficiently so I can move on to the next project. So the other piece of this is to have one central place where you can view all of your locations, you can view all of those video clips, anything you need in a moment's notice. In fact, we've prided ourselves with you being able to log into our software and be able to retrieve the video you're looking for within 30 seconds. That's the key for us. So it's one central place. People who love us the most and who use our software the most are typically those people with many, many locations, or security companies tend to use our solution as one place to be able to manage their clients, right? Because they're not looking at all the cameras live, but they're able to see the status of everything. And we'll jump into that in a couple seconds. So the three prong approach, so to speak, is this optimized storage, which we're going to get to here in a second, the health monitoring, and that dashboard. The optimized storage, what does this mean? So protecting your video means storing your video. Proactive's patented technology has created a way to store more video in less space. And I'll get into those details here in a second. The reality for that is when it comes to storing video, right? If we're dealing with hard drives, I rather deal with much less hard drives than more. So how do I save cost of ownership? If you needed a year's worth of video, the amount of space and hard drive space that I would need versus anybody else's solution or a typical solution is going to be on average anywhere between 70 to 90% less than what you're used to using now. That is directly related to the bandwidth needed and the cost in any form of cloud platform. Cloud, in its very nature, you're basically paying for the amount of storage that you're using, right? That's no matter what anybody says, that's really what's happening. You're paying for that storage, right? So with that, we have this platform which is storing way less, because ultimately what we're doing is we're taking video files and essentially optimizing them into data files, therefore creating the greatest analogy I could give is compounding interest for video surveillance, right? So what does that actually mean? What does optimized storage really mean? What is the effect of what I'm talking about? So the most common form of storage to date, right? 48 cameras, 10 frames per second, 1080p or 2 megapixel, 1 year storage. Most common form, by the way, which is called H.264. This is used by about, last I checked, is about 71% of the market. Today, you would need 266 terabytes to store that. Current technology, which is H.265, you would need 139 terabytes. I only need 40 terabytes, right? Now that's at the maximum. Then we talk about bandwidth. Effects on bandwidth. What does it cost for bandwidth? So most common form of streaming, again, all things being equal, 1 megabit per second. Current technology is 0.6 megabits per second. Maximum bandwidth required for us is 0.2. Minimum bandwidth required is 0.0425 megabits per second per camera, meaning you can get 16 cameras and store 16 cameras in the cloud with less than a megabit per second for your system. That's why I could say we by far have the lowest bandwidth requirements in the market today. Okay, how am I doing on time? All right, I got to keep it moving. So that's your optimized bandwidth. Health monitoring, as I mentioned, it pings each and every single one of these devices. Now, any device with an IP address, we are monitoring, hundreds of thousands of devices, if not millions at this point, an IP phone, servers, cameras, fire alarm panels, regular alarm panels, anything with an IP address. If it goes down, you will know about it in real time. All of these alerts are stored indefinitely. As I mentioned, there's a central dashboard, which is able to see all of your devices, as you can see on the left, and then on the right, all of your locations on the left, all of your devices on the right. Everything can be named and grouped accordingly. Very, very simple. Now, there's 3 different solutions that we have, and these 3 solutions cover the different verticals, and depending on who you are as an end user and your type of business, and depending on what verticals each integrator covers, we have these different versions, right? So we have Air, which is camera straight to cloud. We have Sky, which is camera to a bridge to cloud. Then we have Core, which is local storage, local backup storage, and then if the client needs, we could do cloud archiving on top of that. What's the difference? Air, you're going to need that 1 megabit because all the optimization is happening in the cloud. Sky, all the optimization is happening on site and then can send it to the cloud, right? As well as that Sky bridge holds about a 2-week cache. Core is everything is done locally, and we now have a essentially a server that is doing the video optimization and storing it locally. Again, all 3 of these will wind up having the same solution. So there's no difference. Everything looks the same. You still get all of your health monitoring. You still get the central dashboard. Everything looks the same. So how does it actually work? The process is really quite simple. You have your camera, which goes to your NVR or VMS. Now, what you're going to get is your camera's also simultaneously going to stream through the proactive server or bridge. From there, it's going to go to the cloud if it's so needed, or you have that camera, proactive air, going straight to the cloud. If you notice the thickness of these lines, is relative to the bandwidth needed, right? And then, of course, you have your remote viewing. So that is the simplest way for me to explain how this whole thing works. Now, it's very important. This is all done through the network, right? So everything that happens is done over that local area network. All the programming is done super simple. We're taking, essentially, from a technical perspective, we're taking the substream out of the cameras, okay? So if, again, as I mentioned, if that NVR or VMS goes down, you're still able to record. It's still recording. It has no impact on us whatsoever, right? Now, that said, we just have a quick little proactive air, who proactive air is good for. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly. All 3, proactive air, proactive sky, proactive core, all of your existing systems are compatible, okay? As long as it has what's called an RTSP stream, anything made over the last 7 years comes with RTSP natively. Proactive air is really good for that 1 to 16 camera systems. And I really say that more because of the bandwidth that's readily available instead of it being, because again, my point is I don't want you to have to add more on top of my solution, right? I want my solution to be as easy and as quick and as efficient as possible. Mom and pops, many locations, really that 1 to 8 camera, 16 cameras would be good, right? Proactive sky, again, using the existing system. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 1 year of cloud storage, all perfect. 1 to 32 cameras. We actually, yesterday, we released a 64 camera bridge. So we can now go up to 64 cameras per proactive sky bridge. Very big with national franchises. Again, many locations, low upfront cost for the hardware, and you've got the monthly, which you can obviously figure out. It's a per camera model. And then you've got proactive core. Proactive core, again, using existing system. Really, I have here 16 plus cameras. It's really more for 24 plus cameras. And for those clients who are looking for 1, 2, 3 years of storage, that's really what proactive core is really good for. I've been doing a ton in schools, government facilities, property management is very big in here. So it all ranges, as I mentioned, it all ranges. We have a solution kind of for everybody. Here's just a few of our clients that have we've been blessed to have trust us, and we've done quite a bit with these people. So, and there's obviously many more with people who've trusted their storage and their video surveillance with us to protect that video, right? At the end of the day, again, it's 20 minutes. I tried to give you as best as I could. I'm at 19 minutes. The reality is Proactive's job and what we do in our mission is to protect your video, to make sure you have it when you need it at all times. It's a matter of understanding your needs and understanding that the video and the recordings of that video is the singular most important piece of any video surveillance system. And for that, it's 220, and I got it right on the dot, which is a surprise for me. And that's it. So I thank you, everybody.
That was awesome. Thanks, Tom. And you're right on the dot. Got our first question up. Where are you hosting your storage?
Great question. So we use it depends on where we are, right? What part of the world we're at. So typically we like to use Google. Google's pretty much everywhere. I know Google has some farms in Canada as well, data farms, and all of your data is stored in Canada. So legally and for government facilities, it has to be stored in Canada. So we just make it standard practice that whatever country we're in, we use whatever data farms are there. So we've got AWS, we've got Backblaze, we've got Google, we've got a couple of different variations depending on where we are and where we're storing that video, but it doesn't leave your country. We do not store our video ourselves. I didn't want to feel like investing $10 million into building a data farm to start. So I use people who know how to do that very, very well. I know how to store that video and how to optimize it. And I just send it to them.
Great, thank you. What verticals have you seen implementing your solution most?
Oh, that's a great question. It really varies. It makes it from, it goes all over the map, and it scales accordingly. It ranges depending on the time I've seen. Right now, property management has been tremendous. We're also dealing with a lot of entertainment parks, trampoline parks, entertainment centers. We're dealing a lot with that right now. We're seeing cannabis, anything with legal requirements is always what's big for us, because obviously, you know, we're able to do it so much more cost effectively than anybody else, and is legally required. At the same token, anybody who's finding slip and fall claims or workman's comp cases, who's looking for that longer term archiving, has also been very big for us. And then now we're starting to see a huge transition in the cloud storage as well, where it's 30 to 60 days. So people within that vertical as well, and those verticals, mom and pops, small businesses.
Okay, thank you. Next question, do you have any casino clients, or have you completed any pilot programs with casinos?
I've been in and out of, I had about 15 casino projects all working simultaneously before COVID. And then COVID hit. So we've increased our technology quite a bit during that time. So casino projects typically require certain settings, and we've done a lot of work to figure that out. So I can't say that I have one installed. I can say that we are working with quite a bit. Recently, some of those projects have come back to life, and we're starting to work with those again, and we're working through that process.
Great, thank you. Next up, can you do 30 FPS?
Yes.
Asked and answered.
Frame rate and quality. I want to be clear here, guys. I gave you an example, okay? Now, keep in mind, because I'm recording separately and independently, you could record 30 frames per second at 4K on your NVR VMS, and then use me at 4 megapixel at 10 frames per second. We can record, not only recording separately and independently, but we could also record completely separately and independently, meaning if the client has that value, because if a crime happens, what do we need quality and frame rate for? We need it for the crime. When a crime happens, we typically know about that crime within 24 to 48 hours, especially depending on the level of that crime, right? So you have the ability to do so to make it more cost effective. I can do anything. It's just a matter of cost.
Great, thank you. And next question, how is Proactive different from other local storage solutions, and how is it different from other cloud solutions?
Another great question. It's something I hear common. Proactive is not, when it comes to local storage, Proactive is not a NAS or a SANS. Proactive isn't getting connected and solely reliant on that NVR VMS. That's what a NAS and a SAN is. If the NVR VMS goes down, it's not existent. Those systems are reliant on the recorded data. My system is recording completely independently. When it comes to cloud, there's so many different variations of cloud and what that means today. There's cloud VMSs where the storage is actually being done on the camera. There's cloud VMSs where there's actually storage being done in the cloud, but it's very expensive because of the fact that they're storing that raw data. Rather, what we're doing is we're actually sending our optimized video to the cloud. So we're storing that data, right? Rather than it being raw video. And again, I'll be happy. I know we don't have much time here, but I'll be happy to certainly dig into these questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and we can certainly get more in depth. As you can see, we've partnered up with Hall Telecommunications up there, and they are our distributor. I'm proud to say they're our distributor up there in Canada, serving all of Canada. So we're very excited about that, and either one of us can certainly help you get that done.
Okay, looks like we got one last question here. What is the typical amount of time people archive for?
Oh, it all depends. Cloud, we will see mostly 30 to 90 days. Local, we'll typically see 6 months and up. And the reason for that is even though my costs are very effective and affordable, the reality is there's still a monthly bill, right? So it becomes a difference between an OpEx and a CapEx, where if you're doing 2 years of storage, and we hear it all the time, we have somebody come to us, I want 2 years in the cloud. And I'll say, no, you really don't. Well, why not? Well, because in 8 months of monthly payments, you will have the same cost of what it would take to do a server to do the 2 years upfront, right? So it doesn't make any financial sense unless it's a requirement. So it all depends, but that's what we're here for, to help you and your clients understand what it is they really need and what's most cost effective to them. So it really does depend. Cloud storage is really their sweet spot, is really that 30 days, 90 days, even up to 6 months. We do have a few that are doing a year, 2 years in the cloud. And then, so again, I'm talking general terms and averages. And then the local storage is typically speaking 6 months and up, right? The year, 2 year, 3 year storage. We have utility companies, natural gas companies doing 7 years as an example, right? So it all ranges. We have big pharma companies doing 5 years. It all depends. It's all over the map. I hope that answered it.
Great. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to Tom Maggio of Proactive Data Storage and Monitoring, and to Hall Telecommunications for their support. We look forward to seeing you at one of or all of our 3 live trade shows this year. Until then, be well.